Hello and welcome to SCANS eCampus. SCANS eCampus is a gold-approved learning partner of ACCA. On this channel, we bring you demo videos of different courses available at SCANS eCampus. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get notifications of additional videos and hit the like button.
This video is going to cover an overview of forensic accounting engagements. This is something I'm going to keep repeating as we go forward, but just remember, forensic accounting engagements are agreed upon procedures, so no assurance is given at all. The forensic accountant will not provide an assurance opinion. That is the role of the auditor when reviewing the amount of fraud or loss that has been included in the financial statements. Now, in a forensic accounting engagement in the AAA exam, this will normally involve determining an appropriate value or quantifying loss. This is very different from an assurance engagement where the engagement team would review the amount determined by the client. So in this engagement, you're actually quantifying the loss that has occurred rather than reviewing it. So you're actually doing the work. As an agreed upon procedure, the forensic accountant will normally prepare a report for the client that set out their factual findings based on the scope that was agreed in the engagement letter. This report is going to be addressed to the management, often in the case of a fraud, or to the insurer. It may be that you might have to prepare a witness statement or a report for submission to the court in addition to the report that we just spoke about. When we talk about a forensic accounting engagement, we'll just sort of do this into 3 steps. The primary objective is normally to decide if an actual deliberate fraud has taken place. Secondly, the investigation is going to try and discover who committed the fraud and ultimately to assist in the prosecution of that suspect. The investigation is going to gather evidence which may include an interview with a suspected person, which can then be used in criminal proceedings against the individual concerned as well. So thirdly, investigation would also require you to quantify the loss. So number 1, did a fraud actually take place? Number 2, who did it? Possibly how he did it as well. And number 3, what was the financial loss? So these are the 3 basic objectives of getting this assignment done. Now, before we go on to the stages, what you see on the screen right now are 3 terms that you need to be comfortable with. Like I mentioned earlier, this is an agreed upon procedure. Now, before reading this, I normally always say, think of it or remember it like this, that forensic accounting is the umbrella term. So this is a type of an engagement for, in our paper in particular, fraud investigation, for example. And this is the process. So this is the engagement or the process where you carry out a forensic investigation, including the preparation of an expert witness statement. We'll talk about this in just a minute. So forensic accounting is the umbrella term or the basic investigation that needs to take place. Forensic investigation is basically a part of the accounting engagement. So this is basically the process of getting evidence so that an expert witness statement can be prepared. And this would include forensic audit techniques along with other investigative techniques as well. So investigation includes forensic audit plus other investigation techniques, and this is where forensic auditing as a term comes in. So in a forensic investigation, we're going to be using traditional auditing procedures and techniques to gather evidence as a part of my investigation. So they're basically linked terms rather than being 3 separate definitions. But if your examiner ever asks you for easy knowledge-based marks to explain each of the terms, please use the terms that you see on the screen right now. This would be the easiest way for you to get the marks. Accounting is the overall engagement, the investigation, which would include preparing an expert witness report as well. Investigation is a part of the accounting engagement where you have to use audit plus investigative techniques, and auditing is basically the use of a traditional auditing techniques, procedures to quantify the fraud, etc. For your AAA exam, you should be comfortable with each of the stages that you see on the screen right now, because they're going to be scenario-based and knowledge-based marks over here. Now, from the screen, this is step number 3 is primarily scenario-based. The rest is going to be significantly knowledge-based. So you can just prepare this from these slides and get the easy marks in your exam. We're now going to cover each of the stage one by one, giving a basic overview of the flow of information or the marks that you can get. Starting off with skills, experience, staff, and timelines. These are actually different marks, so please don't write them just like this. Make sure that you go on to explain them. So for example, does the practitioner have the necessary skills and experience to accept the work? You need to have detailed knowledge of fraud investigation techniques and the legal framework that is needed. Investigators should have also received training in interview and interrogation techniques and plus how to maintain the safe custody of evidence gathered. So when we talk about skills and experience, it's a lot more than just simply having basic knowledge. You need to know whether as a firm you have the required human resource available to conduct the engagement within the given timelines. Particularly if this has been requested by an audit client, you need to evaluate ethical implications. So you can refer to your code of ethics for that. You need to have a look at the commercial considerations. Remember, you might need to charge a high level of fee to compensate for the specialist nature of the work. This is going to involve senior staff members, experienced members, so you should be charging your fee accordingly as well. You should confirm exactly what format of the report is required and exactly what matters are required to be covered within it. So need to make sure, am I only supposed to identify the suspect? Am I supposed to quantify the loss? Am I supposed to find out exactly how he was able to get away with fraud? So discuss and confirm and finalize what needs to go into my final report. Remember, this is an agreed upon procedure, not an assurance engagement. So my first stage was accepting the engagement. We then go on to planning the investigation. So again, very logical flow. We'll start off with meeting with the client. We need to understand the issue that has taken place. Is it a fraud, theft, etc.? And actions taken by the management since then. So have they contacted the police? Have they contacted the insurance company? Has the employee been suspended? What has actually happened? At this stage, any key documentation will be obtained and scrutinized. For example, the insurance policy or the evidence that led to the discovery of the fraud. The team will need to agree with the client that they will be given access to all information or people so that they can actually interview and find out, and all of this needs to be arranged as well. At the planning stage, I need to design procedures. We'll conduct them later on, but we need to design procedures. This may include a test of controls to find out how the fraud actually took place. You should also consider the best way to gather evidence. This could be through the use of computer-aided audit techniques. Again, it could help in fraud investigations and analytical procedures, etc. So on the particular days when the sales manager was not there, the cash inflow was more. So I would know through analytical procedures that, okay, he's probably committing fraud. Other matters like deadlines and your own resources need to be planned as well. So pretty much till the second stage as well, you could get away with knowledge-based testing and answering for the easy marks. Like I said earlier, the third stage have to be scenario specific. You need to read what has been given regarding the fraud and think of procedures that need to be conducted. So you'll have to make them up. In terms of ideas, think of the controls that you can test to find out how the fraud actually took place. So possibly conducting test of controls, like I said, regarding the sales manager, you could do analytical procedures to compare trends over times. You could use computer-aided audit techniques to identify, for example, the timing and location of relevant details which were changed into the system. Interviews with employees, substantive techniques such as reconciliations, etc. So your techniques are pretty much the same that you would have known for any other assignment, but they'll need to be tailored to the scenario. Whatever you see on the screen right now, none of that is going to give you even half a mark. unless you obviously apply it to the scenario given, because you need to find out how that particular fraud took place. In terms of reporting, this is a quick reminder that this is an agreed upon procedure. No assurance report is going to be given. The forensic accountant is going to prepare a report for the client that sets out their findings based on the scope agreed. And this may also talk about how the fraud took place depending on what the engagement or agreement was. In terms of the content, it is likely to contain, there's no specific format, your findings, a summary of the evidence that you find, a conclusion about the quantification of loss, a conclusion about how the fraud was able to set up the fraud scheme and which controls were circumvented or bypassed, and recommendations for improvements in the future as well. Remember, I spoke about the term expert witness earlier on. Please remember that the evidence that you gathered might need to be presented at court. So team members may be called to court to describe the evidence they have gathered and to explain how the suspect was identified. You may have to simplify complex accounting issues so that non-accountants at court would understand the evidence and its implications. In terms of the word expert witness that I spoke about earlier, an expert witness is quite different to any other witness in court proceedings. Most witnesses are witnesses of fact. So in a normal legal proceeding, they can only provide evidence on what they saw, did, or heard. Most importantly, they cannot give their opinion on any of the matters about which they give evidence. As opposed to this normal legal witness of fact, an expert witness is specifically called to give their opinion on a particular matter. So you're the expert who's found out how fraud was committed, how much it was, so you'll have to give their opinion on what you believe. This is not the audit opinion, this is your point of view. So you'll have to give your point of view on how you believe all of this happened. So you need to be comfortable with terms like expert witness, etc., etc. At court, you would be asked to sort of prove the suspect's motive and the opportunity, whether this was done by collusion between different suspects, what physical evidence was there, etc., etc. All of that might need to be explained. Like I said, as is the case with most other assignments, it's going to be a mix of knowledge-based and scenario-based testing. For forensic accounting, whatever we have done, sort of quickly reviewed in this video, should be sufficient for you to get very easy marks for the knowledge-based portion. The scenario-based, you'll have to tailor yourself.
If you like this video, visit our website www.scansecampus.com to purchase the complete course at affordable prices. Register today at no cost and access our free 10-day trial.